Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real story with you. Whenever a person is accused, they will tell the police, the court, and anyone else that they are innocent, that they have done nothing wrong, and that they are being framed or falsely accused. Later, the police and the prosecutors gather evidence against that person, and once they present sufficient evidence, the court decides whether the individual committed a crime or not. This is because the accused would rarely admit to any wrongdoing. Today's story is somewhat similar, but with a strange twist. A wife goes to the police and confesses that she has killed her husband, claiming to be his murderer, and asks to be arrested. The police do arrest her, and the case goes to court, where she is sent to prison. However, there is another side to this story. For the past 20 to 21 months, this woman had been going to the police every day, pleading with them to find her missing husband. She even filed a report to the police about his disappearance. When the police failed to locate him, she kept telling them that they weren't doing enough to find him. Then, one day, she suddenly confessed that she had killed her husband, and in fact, she was his murderer. In Kerala, there is an area called Kudal, and in this area, there is a police station. This story is from Kudal on November 5th, 2021. A family used to live there consisting of a husband, wife, and their 2 children. Naushad and his wife often had arguments, and they had been married for 10 years. However, whenever they fought, they would resolve their issues after a while and live happily again. Some of their relatives also lived nearby. On the night of November 5th, 2021, Naushad and his wife Afsana started fighting again. The people around them were aware that this kind of fighting was common and assumed that things would be fine by morning. But that night, things were different. Naushad got extremely angry at Afsana, raised his hand to hit her, and started beating her. Afsana, in turn, got so angry that she hit Naushad back. When Naushad continued beating her, Afsana's relatives, who lived nearby, came over. They saw Naushad hitting Afsana, which made them furious. They joined Afsana in beating Naushad. Naushad's head started bleeding due to the beating, but Afsana's relatives continued hitting him. Naushad, in an attempt to save himself, started preparing to run away from home. When he saw that Afsana's relatives were standing at the door, he jumped out of a window. A few of Afsana's relatives followed him by jumping out as well, but Naushad managed to escape. Afsana had no idea what had happened to Naushad after he fled the house. She was completely unaware of his whereabouts. That night passed, and Naushad did not return home. The next day also passed, but he still didn't come back. Another day went by, and there was still no sign of him. Seeing this, Afsana became extremely worried. She was very distressed, knowing that while she had no idea what had happened to Naushad after he left the house, she did know that he was badly injured when he jumped out of the window, suffering many wounds. It had been 2 or 3 days since Naushad had neither returned home nor gone to work. Concerned, Naushad's father went to the police station to report his disappearance. Afsana, too, couldn't help but worry about what others would think, whether they would assume she didn't care at all. With this thought weighing on her mind, she also went to the police station and reported that her husband had been missing for the past several days and asked them to search for him. Then the police would also tell her, "Don't worry, we will find him soon." So, in this way, Afsana would return home, but she wanted confirmation about what happened to her husband. Why hadn't the police found him yet? The police kept saying, "We are searching for him." But now, Afsana started going to the police station every week, arguing with the officers, telling them to hurry up and find her husband. The officers would reply, "We are doing our job. We will slowly find your husband." But the weeks turned into months, and many months had passed without any news about Naushad. Afsana kept going to the police station by every possible route. The police officers became frustrated, wondering why she kept coming every day and nagging them. They were searching, and if they couldn't find her husband, how was it their fault? It had now been 6 months since Naushad had disappeared. Afsana went to the station again, telling the officers, "I saw Naushad in the market today." The police would go there to search for him, but they wouldn't find him. Sometimes she would tell the police that she saw him in another location. They would search, but Naushad would never be found. She kept giving different locations, but each time the police went, they couldn't find Naushad anywhere. And now, after a month, Afsana went to police station, claiming that she saw Naushad there and told the police officers about it. Initially, the police would leave based on her statements, but now even the police started questioning the credibility of her claims, saying that the place she mentions when they go there, his husband doesn't even exist there. One day she said, "Today I was standing on the road and Naushad was standing in front of me. I know he is alive, but find him and bring him back. He has run away from home." The police asked her, "If Naushad was in front of you, why didn't you stop him?" She replied, "By the time I tried to stop him and cross the road, a car came in front of me. By the time I crossed the road, Naushad had already left. Even the police were now getting frustrated, saying, 'You keep coming here to trouble us.'" At the police station, an officer investigated the case of Naushad's disappearance, and then he said to Afsana, "Tell us your statement and the whole story." After giving her statement, Afsana left. The police compared her past statements with the current one and noticed that all of her statements were inconsistent. They were thought that time had passed and she was forgetting details, but they felt she was hiding something. The police then began a thorough investigation, starting with the last place she claimed to have seen Naushad. She had said she saw him crossing a road. So the police began to investigate her movements on that day, asking what time she saw him on the road. The police discovered that Afsana was lying because she wasn't at the location where she claimed to have seen Naushad. The police began to suspect she was hiding something, especially since Naushad had been missing for 21 months, and they needed to find out what happened to him as soon as possible. The police called Afsana back to the station for further questioning. Then the police questioned Afsana, and she revealed the entire truth to them. Upon hearing her story, the police then filed a court case against Afsana. Later, they presented Afsana in court. In court, the entire story was narrated, revealing that, along with her relatives, she caused great harm to her husband, leaving him in a very bad condition. He was beaten so severely that he died. This was a murder case, and it was also known that they have had buried Naushad's body somewhere near her home, since his body was still missing. However, it was clear that Afsana was responsible for his murder as well. The court then instructed the police to locate the body as soon as possible before the case could progress. However, after a thorough search, the police found nothing. They questioned nearby residents, asking if there had been any new digging or construction in the area. Following the residents' information, the police excavated all the indicated spots, but still came up empty-handed. The story began to spread among the locals. People started talking about how Afsana, who used to go to the police station to file a missing person report for her husband and ask the police to find him, was now in jail for her husband's murder. Afsana had confessed to the police on July 28, 2023 that, during a heated argument on November 5, 2021, she had hit Naushad on the head with a heavy object, causing him to bleed. She wasn't alone. She had a companion and some relatives with her. One of them, a close friend, assured her not to worry, saying nothing would happen to her. This friend then threw Naushad's body out of the window and left the scene. After that day, Naushad was never seen again. Afsana believed that Naushad had died from the fall and that he had been buried somewhere. Her friend had promised to take care of the body, and after that, the friend disappeared. Afsana was convinced she had killed her husband as he began bleeding after her blow to his head. She then began to say, "It seems to me that Naushad died because of the fight that happened that night. That's why I kept telling the police station repeatedly that I had seen Naushad somewhere, because I didn't want the police to suspect anything. I visited the police station again and again, saying I didn't know where my husband was or where he had disappeared to, so that the police wouldn't suspect me. If the police don't even know about the murder, how will they catch the killer? But my lie was caught when my statement about seeing Naushad on a particular road was contradicted by CCTV footage from that area. There was no sign of him there, and the police caught my lie, which revealed the truth. I genuinely don't know where Naushad's body is because my relatives had told me they'd take care of everything and that I shouldn't worry or think about it. They just told me to keep quiet and not tell anyone. So, for 21 months, I've believed that I did kill my husband, but I still don't know where his body was buried. That's why I kept visiting the police station daily, so they wouldn't suspect me. I thought I would escape this way, and the police wouldn't figure out that I had anything to do with his murder. Even after all this, the police checked every CCTV camera around that area, but found nothing. They arrested Afsana, but they didn't press any charges against her. The police said they couldn't proceed with the case until Naushad's body was found. They also considered the possibility that Naushad might still be alive. But in the 21 months since, he hadn't contacted his parents or anyone because he didn't have a phone, so there was no way to trace his location. The day after Afsana was arrested, this story was published in a local Kerala newspaper detailing how a woman had killed her own husband. They added a photo of Naushad and Afsana along with the story. The area where Afsana and Naushad lived there was 130 kilometers away at another place, where people were reading the newspaper. When they saw Afsana's photo and read the full story, they looked carefully at the photo, especially the Naushad picture. After examining it closely, they said to one another, "This man works in our area." Then another person mentioned, "Yes, he works here in our locality." When he showed the photo to others, they also recognized, saying, "Yes, he works here. We see him every day." After confirming this, they took the newspaper and went to the place where Naushad was working. Many people gathered there and they called a man over, asking, "Are you Naushad?" He replied, "Yes, I'm Naushad." Then they told him, "Police put your wife in jail." Naushad read the entire story and began to realize what was happening. After reading everything, Naushad grew worried about his 2 children. The people standing around him asked, "You've been living here for 21 months. Have you ever spoken to your children, your wife, or your parents? Why did you never contact them?" Naushad then told his story. "The day my wife and I had a fight, I hit her. Her relatives saw this and beat me up so badly that I was seriously injured. I thought they would kill me, so I fled the area and came here. I was so terrified that I believed if I returned, they would kill me. So I wandered and ended up here, where I started working. I didn't call my parents because I didn't want anyone to know where I was. If anyone found out, especially my wife's relatives, they would kill me." Then Naushad said, "I was very scared and I didn't want anything bad to happen to me." People from the village were saying, "You should go back to your home now. You should see your children. Show yourself to your wife." He returned home. When he reached his parents and relatives, they were shocked to see him alive. When his relatives and family members saw him, they were surprised and quickly informed the police. When the police found out that Naushad was alive and at home, they rushed to the place and asked, "Are you Naushad?" He responded, "Yes, I am Naushad, and Afsana is my wife. On November 5th, we had a fight and I ran away from home." The situation was very strange for the police, as the man whose wife was in jail stood before them alive. They didn't know how to handle the case. They quickly submitted a report to the court, and after reviewing the report, the court released Afsana from jail the next evening. Now, both Afsana is out of jail, and Naushad is alive. The police have not pressed any charges against anyone, nor have they imposed any legal sections, despite the fact that on that day, Naushad was beaten by Afsana and her family. If Naushad goes to the police station and files a report against them, the police will take action. But so far, Naushad hasn't done anything like that. So, this was today's story. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it valuable.